like saying, this is given to me and I have no alternative but to give it to you as I receive it, the message. Verse 45, chapter 3, verse 45. It continues.
Excuse me, lady. There will be time for questions. Let the speaker carry on. At the end of the session, we'll give you an opportunity. Please let the speaker carry on.
Chapter 3, verse 45. It continues. The birth of Jesus. إِذْ قَالَتِ الْمَلَائِكَةُ يَا مَرْيَمُ. So behold, the angel said, O Mary, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُبَشِّرُكِ بِكَلِمَةٍ مِّنْهُ, that Allah gives you glad tidings, good news of a word from Him. Ismuhul Masih, His name will be the Messiah, translated Christ. Ismuhul Masih, Isa ibn Maryama, Jesus the son of Mary, Wajihan fi dunya wal akhirah, held in honor in this world and in the hereafter, wa minal muqarrabin, and of the company of those nearest to God. What the Christian would say, sitting on the right hand of God. Many people misunderstand, thinking that God Almighty is sitting on a glorified chair, a throne, and Jesus Christ on another little chair by His side, like a little flea or a molecule. Imagine if God Almighty is sitting on a throne physically, then Jesus, He wouldn't be even a speck. No honor. No. What it means is, in Eastern languages, when we say sitting on my right hand, it doesn't literally mean sitting on my right hand. It's a position of respect. The Quran says that He will be in the company of those nearest to God, not physically, not geographically, spiritually. And He will speak to the people. Fil mahdi wa kahlan, in childhood and in maturity. وَمِنَ الصَّالِحِينَ, and He shall be of the company of the righteous. This is a prophecy. The good news is being given that your child, as an infant, he will speak. And as a grown-up, normally, naturally. But as an infant, in childhood, he will be gifted. And we find the fulfillment of this prophecy within months of this good enunciation was being made to her, within months. And we find this in the Holy Quran, in a chapter called Surah Maryam, meaning chapter Mary. This chapter 19 is named in honor of the mother of Jesus Christ. Surah Maryam, chapter Mary. In this whole vast volume, there is no chapter in the name of Muhammad's mother, or his wife, or his daughter. Can you imagine? But the chapter 19 is in honor of the name of the mother of Jesus. Surah Maryam, chapter 19. It tells us, verse 27, I'm starting, that after the birth of the child, these circumstances being peculiar, she had retired to a remote place in the east. There is no Joseph the carpenter in the Quran. You know Joseph the carpenter? There's no mention about Joseph the carpenter here. This is a miraculous birth, and it speaks about it miraculously. There is no genealogy of Jesus, like we find in the New Testament, in the Gospel of St. Matthew and the Gospel of St. Luke. Between the two, they give this man, mighty messenger of God, 66 fathers and grandfathers. 66. A child that was born miraculously, they go out of the way to give him a genealogy. The Quran does not speak about any genealogy. It does not mention Joseph the carpenter or any other carpenter. So the circumstances of the conception being peculiar was immaculate. She retired to a remote place in the east, says the Quran, and after the birth of the child, she returns. Shamelessly, of course, carrying the little child infant in her arms. فَأَتَتْ بِهِ قَوْمَهَا تحمله. So at length she brought the babe to her people, carrying him in her arms. قالوا, they said, Ya Maryamu, O Mary, لقد جئت شيئا فريا. So truly an amazing thing has thou brought. They are shocked, knowing full well that she was not married. Where did you bring this child from? The insinuating illegitimate child. Where did you get this child from? Shamelessly parading in the village. Ya ukhta Haruna, so O sister of Harun, coming such a noble ancestry of the children of Aaron, the brother of Moses, the Levites, the priestly class among the Jews. You come from such a priestly and noble family. Ya ukhta Haruna, ma kana abuki imra'a saw'in wa ma kanat ummuki baghiya. So your father was not a man of evil, nor thy mother a woman unchaste. Insinuating, where did you bring this illegitimate child from? What is she to do? Would they listen to her explanation? Would you listen to your daughter's explanation? If she tells you, says, Daddy, you know, I heard some voices and now this child was born, you'll believe her. Would you? They were in no mood to listen to such stories. What was she to do? She merely pointed to the babe. فَأَشَارَتْ إِلَيْهِ, says the Quran. She merely pointed to the child and says, ask him. She knew that this was no ordinary child. Ask him. So they say, قَالُوا كَيْفَ نُكَلِّمُ مَنْ كَانَ فِي الْمَهْدِ سَبِيًّا. They say, how can we talk to one who's a child in the cradle, a baby, an infant? How can we talk to him? And by a miracle, he spoke from his mother's arms and defended his mother against an unbelieving audience. He says, قَالَ إِنِّي عَبْدُ اللَّهِ. So most certainly I am the servant of Allah. آتَانِيَ الْكِتَابِ. He has given me revelation. وَجَعَلَنِي نَبِيًّا. And he has made me a prophet. وَجَعَلَنِي مُبَارَكًا أَيْنَمَا كُنْتُ وَأَوْصَانِي بِالصَّلَاةِ وَالزَّكَاةِ مَا دُمْتُ حَيًّا وَبَرًّا بِوَالِدَتِي وَلَمْ يَجْعَلْنِي جَبَّارًا شَقِيًّا. He said, I am indeed a servant of God. He had given me revelation and made me a prophet. And he had made me blessed wheresoever I be. So, and he hath enjoined on me prayer and charity as long as I live. And he has made me kind to my mother and not overbearing or miserable. He has made me kind to my mother and not overbearing or miserable. This is the first miracle that Jesus Christ performed according to this holy book of Islam. He defended his mother against an unbelieving audience as an infant from his mother's arms. I want you to compare this first miracle of Jesus with the first miracle that Jesus Christ performed according to the Holy Bible. You know what miracle he performed? It was at the marriage feast at Cana. You read in the Gospel of St. John that Jesus and his disciples had gone there and they ran short of wine. So his mother comes to him, he says, my son, knowing that he's got that mysterious powers. God had given him powers, spiritual powers, that he can perform miracles. So she comes to him, he says, my child, these people have run short of wine. Help them, do something for them. So Jesus responds, he says, woman, what have I to do with thee? My time is not yet. But persuaded, he turns water into wine. And since then, wine has flowed like water in Christendom. Last year, our beautiful country, our good people, spent 2,000 million rand on alcohol. Last year, our good people spent 2,000 million rand on gambling. And yet, you see on TV again and again, some program or the other about spastics, about the cripples, about the blind. They haven't got enough money. We haven't got enough money. The government hasn't got enough money. 2,000 million was squandered on alcohol alone last year in our country. The first miracle in the Quran, he defends his mother as an infant. The first miracle in the Bible, he turns water into wine.